It's the Becky and Boca Show, coming to you live every Thursday night at 6 p.m. from glamorous downtown Boca Raton. I'll show you how to live life in style in one of the country's most elegant cities, nestled right along the beautiful Atlantic beaches between Palm Beach and Miami. So sit back, relax, and let me show you how to indulge yourself Boca style.
I go right here.
Hello. Welcome to the Becky and Boca Show. We're going to have a lot of fun tonight. I've been really looking forward to this interview. First of all, I want to give you a little background about my guest. In the 90s, my guest enjoyed a very interesting life in South Florida. It was the good life, I'm sure, albeit a bit on the shady side. This was the era when all the big clubs in Miami Beach were frequented by movie stars and pop singers and supermodels, the beautiful people, Madonna, Naomi Campbell, Calvin Klein. And, of course, there was organized crime in Miami, like you would have in New York. Miami Beach was referred to at the time as the American Riviera. Very beautiful place. Big money, fast money. Movies like Wall Street were very popular, where everybody was getting rich. Everything was over the top. Conspicuous consumption was the norm. Armani suits, Rolex watches, fancy cars, Miami Vice. Even the TV cops wore the fancy suits. And it was a very interesting part of the history of South Beach. It was a very iconic period. And my guest tonight was not always on the right side of the law, but
on the right side of my law.
Oh, the right side of your law. Okay. I would like to introduce Ciro Dapagio.
Hello.
And you were involved in South Florida activities in the 90s, correct?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then eventually you got a 27-year sentence for racketeering.
Yeah, that hurt a little bit.
Yeah, and you had to go to jail, but you only had to serve 19 years. I say only. That's that's a long time. Mm-hmm. But before we get to that, I want to hear about what life was like for you back in the 90s, because that was a really fun time. And we all know about the New York mobs, the New York mafia, but Miami Beach has the same thing. Maybe it's a little different. There are a lot of gangs and groups here, so I'll let you talk.
Oh, Miami has, it's an open territory, so it has basically every type of organization you could have here operating.
More than in New York?
New York is more structured, with their families. There's 5 families out of New York back in the day.
A little closer.
Back in the day, and, they're pretty, concise on who does what in what area and what neighborhood and what type of thing like that. Miami's completely different. It's open territory, so people operate however they see fit. As long as you don't step on somebody's toes, everybody knows whose flag is where, or it's easy enough to find out. But what makes Miami unique is you have every other element as well, vying for positions and stuff like that. So you have everything from Russian.
I was going to say people from other countries, because there's a lot of that influence even now.
Yes, a lot of Russians here, and you have a predominant heavy Jewish influence as well, which a lot of people are surprised by. But
you have a mafia?
Well, I don't know about this word mafia that you keep throwing around, but
okay, we won't use the word mafia.
But I can say organizations.
Organization. Okay.
People who work together, and so it's an interesting thing. There's a lot of Miami's notorious for easy money, scams, property scams, this type of scam, that type of scam. So, when you have the lure of easy money, then you have people.
You attract the people that are.
Well, then you have the people that can come along and really make the money. It's all about power. Is all about money. Mm-hmm. And that's what funnels the machine.
Right. Right.
If you don't feed the machine, then the machine eats you. So.
Well, I imagine it was a very heady time for you. You were young, very attractive guy. You still are.
Thank you.
And I imagine being in Miami Beach around all this money, all the supermodels, the actresses, all the big nightclubs, fancy cars, fancy clothes, all of that. So can you tell us a little bit about what that lifestyle was like?
Well, I mean, I had all that, I got arrested. I had 13 cars.
Oh, my goodness.
And that was when my technical violation for probation, that was part of their little charge to get me because I didn't write how many cars I had on their little stupid form they had me fill out every month. But you know, it goes without saying, you can't really operate the way you might. You know, I can't just stash money in the banks and stuff like that, because the way this wonderful system of government is set up, they anybody that they perceive as being aligned with anyone, they charge you with racketeering. And racketeering basically makes you responsible for anybody's who's under you, their actions, so that they can get the boss. Yeah, it's a big umbrella that covers everything, that covers nothing. So what happens is even if you have the most legitimate business on the planet, if it's a wise guy or somebody they think is involved in a gang or anything like that, they'll charge you with racketeering, take your business, take your property, take everything from you. That's how they've been able to dismantle things over the last couple of decades and dismantle people's lives like they did mine as well.
So that's what happened to you?
Yeah, I mean, they pretty much had nothing on me, and a few business violations or whatever that, you know, this garbage they throw at you. But, you know, the Rico Law is a powerful law.
And what is the Rico Law?
Racketeer, influence, corrupt organization. 3 or more people conspiring to commit the same crime over a period of 30 days or more.
Oh.
Yeah, you have to prove 4 elements. You have to have the racket, whatever it may be, strip club, nightclub, you know. You have to have the influence, which is the threat of violence over that particular operation.
Threat of violence?
The threat of violence, you know, that's where the influence comes in. And then you have a corrupt organization, something they can say is a particular, you know, gang or organization. And, but, I mean, they abuse it every day now. You see in Atlanta a couple years ago, they even charged teachers with racketeering, which is kind of ridiculous. But it's just it's a ridiculous law, in my opinion. You know, when you were growing up and your mom used to tell you, you know, don't jump off the bridge and into the water or whatever, and you would say, well, Johnny gets to do it.
Johnny gets to do it, yeah. So I'm going to do it too.
You know, if Johnny does it, you're going to do it. And basically, racketeering makes you responsible for everything Johnny does because he's your friend.
Okay, so you get in with a group of people and you start doing some sort of activity that attracts the attention of
law enforcement. I make a lot of money. Yeah. So, you know, like I said, it's a machine. So each step is another level, and you get on people's radars, you know. And the more you are successful at it and the better you are at it, the more accolades come with that. So I was unique in that ability to identify sources that would make money, create things that make money. It's called an earner. And then when you're an earner and you also have the ability to enforce, that creates, you know, the perfect recipe for things that can go on, you know, that people like.
So then you would be responsible for everything that is done under your guidance?
Well, no,
were you in a gang or a family or a group?
I may have been in both.
Okay.
I
guess you can't tell me what they were. Okay. I don't need to know that. But.
I mean, you know, the answers are there. People know. You know, I'm not one. My story that I'm telling is my story, but I'm not a person that is going to sit here and tell you things like these people who make movies and say, yeah, we did this ripoff, or this such and such family did that. I'm not in the business of doing that.
Right.
I'm in the business of creating something on what I lived in and in the way it went down and how it went down, and it's going to be as true to the nature of that as possible, but it's not going to identify people, places, or things, you know.
He has a project that we're going to get to after the break that is very interesting, and that's why I have you here, because I think it's going to be very, very successful.
It seems
and this time you're on the right side of the law.
I am. I think I was on the right side of the law then, somewhat, but...
All right. Okay, so what were you doing in Miami Beach in the 90s without going into exact detail? I mean, what was your life like? Was it like you see in the movies? Lots of fun, lots of women, lots of fancy clothes? And...
You know, I mean, my objective back then was, you know, the lots of women and all that kind of stuff. I wasn't really into that type of thing there because, you know, in that line of work back then, you had to always be on your P's and Q's, you know, and it was all about making money. And you either have to be really good at what you do, or you become a victim of what you're trying to do with the people you're trying to do it with.
What do you mean by that?
Well, you know, people have this conception of the mob that they just run around and inflict violence on normal, everyday people. Which
so normal people are in no danger from the mob?
Very rarely. That's why it's men of respect or whatever. And what people don't understand is that there's rules in everything. There's rules for police officers they have to follow. There's rules for, you know, government workers. There's rules for everybody. So if you enter into some type of agreement with you know, a wise guy or whatever the case may be, and you agree to certain terms or certain things or certain principles or certain ways of operations, and you violate them terms or rules of operations, then there's punishments. You know, you violate society's rule, you go to court. You know, what's different with the government? If they think you did something bad enough, they put you to death. Maybe organizations have a quicker way of, you know,
eliminating a problem.
executing that type of punishment. But, you know, for the most part, people can do it because their conscience is clear. If you have to look at a guy and you have to say, I'm not saying I ever had to do any of this. I'm just simply saying it, you know, in general, if something had to take place where, you know, you had to face somebody that was going to have to pay the price on something, it's simply, you knew what you were doing. And
that person knew they had it coming, I assume.
Pretty much, you know, that's why they would run.
Kind of scary. Okay.
You know?
Can you run from the mob?
maybe today some people can, but back in them days you couldn't.
You couldn't.
You know.
Oh, scary.
It's you know, the only mob in existence today is the United States government. So.
Well, I know
that's how I feel about that.
Okay. 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 So this was the '90s. It was Miami Beach.
Mm-hmm. It was all over for me. I mean, Fort Lauderdale, Miami Beach.
All of South Florida.
Yeah. I mean, my story is unique because, like I said, I would get phone calls and go visit people, you know, that had maybe a business or something that was struggling. And, you know, the way the system is set up, it doesn't help people who have had bad breaks. You know, if you had a foreclosure or your car got repoed or whatever the case may be, and you're trying to get some money to get started again, it's impossible for you. Nobody's going to do anything for you. So the system's in place to beat people down. The laws, you know, are enacted to stop any other type of alternatives that may be available to people who would loan you money. You know, you go and put money on your credit card and you have bad credit or whatever, or, you know, a couple dings in your credit and you're paying 23% interest. I mean, people don't realize they're so conditioned for the fact that it's okay because it's a bank when it's twice as much what you would have gotten charged from a wise guy.
Okay, so you're talking about people taking out loans
from anyone, from what the government terms as loan sharking.
Loan sharks, okay.
You know, or something to that effect where they like to charge people. Gambling, for example.
Is the interest rate better?
Yes, of course. I mean, who charges 25% on money except credit cards, you know?
Okay.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, that's a ridiculous figure. If you look at these Capital One cards and stuff, they're 23% that they're charging you to go out and charge. But you do it of your own free will because you think, oh, it's all good. But you're getting robbed.
So loan sharking, you could go to someone, get a loan for a smaller percentage.
Theoretically, yeah.
Theoretically, yes. But what if you didn't make your payments on time?
Okay, well, you know, if you don't pay for your house, your bank will come and take your house and kick you and your family out on the street.
True.
Without even thinking twice about it. You know, you don't pay your property taxes, they'll come and take your house even if you own it.
Okay.
So these are not things that people in those businesses would have done. I mean, you always are going to give somebody an opportunity to pay you. You can't get blood from a stone. So, you know.
You want the money. Okay.
Yeah, you know, so you don't really loan money to people that don't have the ability to pay. So if someone's identified as somebody who may have the ability, a business or something along those lines, basically you want to get in that business. You want to get paychecks coming in, legal money coming in and stuff like that.
So you help them with the business?
Yeah, you help them with the business. You identify what can be done. Like I had told you about the one time where, you know, I did the phone sex thing back in the 90s. That was a big thing with the 976 numbers. And it was so simple on the surface how to fix. You know, the laws were illegal for phone sex operations to be in Florida, the phone rooms themselves. So, you know, the feds kept cracking down on this particular operation or whatever for this organization. And I got a call. I went in, checked it out. And it was really pretty simple to fix. It was just a simple switch out of Vegas, you know, but it turned around and made over $100 million, you know.
Oh, my goodness.
And it's legitimate money, you know.
Okay, so the phone sex lines were not illegal?
Well, no, the rooms themselves were.
Oh.
Everybody was doing that. You know? You just had to have the switch come out of Vegas. It was real simple to fix, but I came up with it. So, you know, I mean, that put me...
So you were a very valuable person to these gangs.
It put me in the good graces. Well, I mean, gangs don't operate at that level, you know, really.
Okay, what do you call it?
You know, organizations, you know.
Okay, organizations. All right.
I mean, gangs do their things, you know, that are a little different. Gang life is completely different than an organized life. They run under numbers.
Okay, so we're talking about organized crime.
Yeah, well, you know, organized, you know, operations. Crime is
okay. They're
contextual.
only crime if it's not all criminal activity.
Yeah,
I mean a lot of it is.
Like I just tried to illustrate for you, it's a matter of context. If you're someone who's trying to toot the law of the horn of the law, then you're going to say that everything that they do is wrong.
Okay.
But as I just showed you, in my opinion, everything that the government does to you is wrong. From taxation, you're taxed on everything, every single thing that you do. It's not the land of the free; it's the land of pay to be free. You're taxed on everything. That's called VIG in organized crime.
What's VIG stand for?
VIG is like the interest. It's the mob tax.
Oh, okay.
But it's way lower than every tax normal citizens pay for everything. It's
so what does the VIG tax pay for? What do you?
Well, the VIG is just like an interest,
It's the interest rate. If I borrowed money from someone like that.
Or anybody that helps you with anything in life expects, some type of return,
Right.
I mean, it's just a tit for tat, right? Mm-hmm. But what does the government do for you? You buy a house and you say you're a homeowner and they tell you about this American dream, yet you pay $200,000 on a $400,000 house or $300,000 on a $400,000 house over the course of the loan just to own that house.
Right.
And yet, if you own that house and you don't pay your property taxes, they come and take your house. So how do you own it?
So is it illegal for these organizations to loan people money and charge a percentage?
Ooh, families or banks?
Families.
Well, the government says it's illegal.
Okay.
That's my point. That's the dichotomy there. On one hand, you have these people saying it's okay, and they put in a system in place where you're used to it and you're like, okay, that's just the way it is. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest rackets. That's why racketeering should be applied to the people who created the law. They raise your kids by telling you that you're going to have to take a hit of $300,000, $200,000 if you want to go to a good college, get all these different loans, go in debt. It'll take you 15 years to get out of debt. Exactly. But you hear it so much as a kid and growing up, and your parents and everybody, it's just like, oh, it's no big deal to take a $250,000 hit right out the box. But it is a big deal.
Yeah.
These colleges have billion-dollar endowments. They don't have to charge people this type of money. They don't have to make you go in debt. And here's the kicker, right? The government puts the VIG on top of the money they loan you. So they make you take school loans and then pay interest on top of that as well. It's all forced. You can't go to college otherwise, right?
Okay, so the government doesn't allow families to do the same thing the government's doing, is what you're saying.
Right. Take gambling, for example. It's everywhere, right?
Right.
Lottos, everything.
Okay.
But what they do is they'll take guys that want to place bets, with normal guys just trying to make a buck and saying, okay, look, you want to make a bet with me? I'll give you credit on it. And you make the bet. If you lose, you pay. If you don't, I'll pay you if you win. But they'll give somebody 20 years for that because they'll charge them with Rico.
Okay.
And that's what they're hitting everybody with these days in the circles of the people that are still trying to make a dollar. People just trying to eat.
So what happens to somebody that borrows money, takes out a loan from the family, and just can't pay it?
Well, the family is not going to loan you money to buy a house or something. That's not the way it works. It's a stopgap. Some people just need money because they're out of work, or they want to feed their kids, or whatever the case may be. You have a general affection amongst the population for wise guys because they're men of respect, because they do things for people, because they go out of their way to help people. The government paints a picture for you that they're these mass killers that go around doing all this other kind of crazy stuff. I haven't seen a wise guy walk into a bank and say, hey, give me $3,000 with a gun pointed in somebody's face. People don't do that type of stuff. They're interested in making money legitimately, however it could be to feed their family.
So they have their own thing going on that the government wants to
if you go back far enough in mafia history, it was set up and put in place to protect their people from government, from from other people trying to rob their neighborhoods and stuff. Of course, things get exploited. I'm not sitting here trying to tell you every wise guy's been an angel. There are people that abuse power. Abuse of power is evident in everything, from police officers to mob guys. So, it goes down like that too. But in my case, all I had to worry about was, making the money. And, I was very good at it. I'm very good at diversion. I'm very good at sending people in opposite directions. I'm very good at painting pictures for people to look at, and then it's not actually that. So you put all that together, the money works, it's coming in, everybody's happy with you, pat on the back, it's all good. But at some point, they're going to try to throw crap at you and see if it sticks, which they did in my case, and, and that's what happens.
You were sentenced to 27 years, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That must have been very frightening when you got that decision, I would imagine. 27 years is a long time.
Didn't scare me. It pissed me off.
Didn't scare you?
No.
would scare me. In the end, you served 19 years.
Yeah.
But can you tell us what that was like to go from the romantic South Florida lifestyle to all of a sudden being locked up and knowing you're going to be there for a long, long time?
Well, I mean, you know, prison isn't state's prison, especially. I mean, it's not club fed like people think.
Yeah, a lot of people always assume that you kind of guys end up in these posh places where
happen.
you get room service and all that.
Yeah, I mean, your banker frauds and your stock fraud guys and all them, they end up at federal camps that don't have no fences or nothing like that. But guys like me, they won't let go there. Guys they think are like me, but listen, it's gladiator school. When you get put in that, there's a hierarchy there too.
I was going to ask you about that. I assume the minute you get in there, you got to get the lay of the land and figure out where your position is and try to get to the top. And someone like you would probably be very successful at that.
Well, I was, and you're going to get tried on every corner. I mean, when you first get in there, and you have to make your mark. So how you make your mark in prison is you just start swinging.
What do you mean by swinging?
Hitting people.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you go in there and you establish that so it's a whole other family thing in prison, just like out on the streets.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a hierarchy there. There's a way to make money there. There's a whole, way of doing things in prison to either have it better than what most people have.
How do you make money in prison? Maybe you can't tell me.
Well, that's not no age secret there. I mean, there's ways that
you're making money on the outside through people that is what?
No, you make money within the prison. I mean, a simple, there's more drugs in prison than there is on the street. It's easier for people to get it, and the difference is say a gram of, heroin. They call it boy in there, but a gram of that. One little line is $100, so you make $1,000 on a gram that somebody paid, peanuts on the street for. So you get an 8-ball of that in there, you just made $3,000.
Because there's no other way for them to get it.
Right, and it's more expensive in there. So, and then you got your mules that bring the stuff in from your work squads. They put it where they're, where the sun don't shine.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
okay.
And they bring it in, take it out. It's all wrapped in quarter rolls or whatever, and split up, and there's commerce.
Amazing. So there's commerce in prison, just
absolutely.
like.
Absolutely.
Well, I guess that would make it more interesting.
Well,
so
I mean,
okay. Were you ever in solitary confinement, or were you allowed to be in the general population?
I was in solitary confinement probably about 6.5, 7 years of my sentence. Not straight, but.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they locked you up
Is that
on
a disciplinary action?
For me, most of the time it was investigation. They like to put you under investigation for things when they think you're a leader of a certain group, which people who are listening to this broadcast here know which group I was a leader of. It was a very powerful organization in prison, the most powerful one, basically. And, I eventually rose to the top of that. There's just certain people that do that type of stuff, I mean, if I got...
If you're a leader on the outside, I imagine you're a leader on the inside.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you got certain character traits that make leaders leaders, what I'm saying? So, I'm trying to lead in the right path now on the good side of things.
I know, we're going to talk about that after the break. Yes,
but,
you are.
I mean, it just comes out, you gotta take what you want,
Okay, did you have a family when you went into prison?
Of course, yeah.
And were they allowed to visit you?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, how does that work?
Well, I mean, the prison system's set up to make everybody uncomfortable. They would love for you not to have any family out there, so you don't cause any of the officials any problems with your wife calling or your mother calling or all that kind of stuff. So, it's not very convenient for people to show up. It's intrusive on you. They shake you down, search you down, and all this other kind of stuff. And then there's all the rules in place. You have to sit across the table and can't touch, and one kiss when you come in.
No conjugal visits?
No.
That's just in the movies?
That's in the movies.
Okay.
And it's they try you nonstop. The prison system set up for rehabilitation, that's a joke.
Yeah.
All they do is
Everyone
make you
that.
They make the convicts, you have convicts and inmates, that's how we term it, people who know what that means will know what that means. So but
convicts
either way,
and inmates.
Yeah, convict is somebody who knows how to do time, and inmate are 75% of the rest of the population that run around telling on everybody and doing all the crazy stuff, like I just said, muling and, whatever, things that guys like me would never do. So, but what happens is when they get out, this whole debt paid to society thing and all that's a farce too. You know, you're punished for the rest of your life. You go to put in a job application. My rap sheet is I can throw it from your 5th floor building,
and you
here,
have,
and we
to,
can climb
you have
down.
to list that on your application, I guess.
Yeah, I
or
mean,
people can search you. Yeah,
they pull your record, you know.
Yeah,
and
but you've changed your name, haven't you?
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do. You still, you know, your legal name is your legal name. You know, I mean, that's not going to change anything. Just because it's not my blood name doesn't mean anything. It still means that when you go to get a job application or whatever the case may be, it's still the name you got to put down. You know,
so
I mean,
it's difficult.
Every single celebrity on the planet has a different name. You know, Katy Perry's real name's Kate Hudson. She changed it because of that.
Because you didn't want to. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, they all got different names. I'm going in the entertainment business. You got to have, you know, what works for entertainment.
Stage name.
You know, so you do whatever you got to do. I mean, I've had a million names. I had a million aliases when you're. You know,
I know that because I was Googling you, and all these different names kept coming up. I'm like, who is this guy?
I mean, in the end, you know, in real life, a name is important to somebody like you. In my world, you know, you create different names for different things.
For different
you know, you might have a
circumstances.
different name on this block, a different name on that block, because you don't want to have a trail.
Did you have any of those gangster names? You know, like
No, I didn't do none of that. I try to keep all American white boy names. You know,
Okay.
that's what people try to do.
Why
Smith,
is that?
Jones,
'Cause they
whatever
don't
you.
wanna-
Yeah, you know, you
Around
try
suspicion.
to have some just nice normal names. You know, try to keep everything normal.
Okay, well,
But-
that's something I didn't know.
But you know, with the law enforcement, they know everything.
Yeah, I imagine they would because I figured it out on Google, so they're probably a little better than me.
They know everything.
Okay, so you finally got out. What did that feel like? I mean, that must have been, and that was just about a year ago, right?
Yeah, 18 months.
18 months ago, okay.
Still kind of trying to adjust to it, you know.
You get used to living in there, I would imagine, and then...
Well, it's not that so much that you get used to it. There's a certain mentality about it. Like in prison and the world I came from before prison, it was all about respect. You know, you can't allow any type of disrespect, you know, if people are going to look up to you. You know, you can't cut me at the water fountain. You can't cut me in the chow line. You can't, because I'm just going to knock you out.
Wow.
When you get out
on the way out of here.
when you get out on the street and the amount of disrespect that people do every day to
each other.
everybody is just unreal to me. It just freaks me out. So I got to bite my tongue a lot and just mind my own business and stuff like that, where, you know, I want to say something to people. They get in your space. You know, somebody will walk right in front of you in the grocery store and not even say, excuse me, or bump you out of the way, or move a kid out of the way. All that kind of stuff is just, it's odd.
That doesn't happen in prison?
It might happen to some people.
Okay.
Yeah, but you know, the people that aren't gonna stand for it, in prison, it's such a condensed lifestyle.
Microcosm of
you got
people,
this guy
okay.
right next to you, this guy right next to you, that guy on that bunk, that guy is so you create.
I would imagine that would
you
be difficult.
create your space, and you don't allow nobody in that
Right.
space. Like I wouldn't allow nobody to sit on my bunk or anything like that.
Okay, we got to go to break here, and after the break, we're going to talk about what Ciro is doing now on the right side of the law, and it is fantastic. I'm really excited about it. That's why I invited him on. Okay, we're going to break. And now, back to the show. Hello. Back with the second half of the BeckyinBoca show. And I'm here with Ciro Dapagio. He is the MobKing. And I also now have Dylan Lang. He is an associate producer of the MobKing. And the MobKing is a new TV series. And it is all about Ciro's life. And it is unique in the fact that the actual person that did the crimes and did the time and was actually in the mob is playing the lead character in the series. And I have watched a few of their little episodes, and I totally told these guys that this is what I would watch. I mean, I watch all of those Netflix series. Right now I'm watching one called Ozark. Have you seen that one?
I have not.
Jason Bateman. Oh, they lots of mafia stuff in there.
Heard about it.
Oh, it's very good. So, but this is exactly the same thing. I think even better because you are starring in it. You are the MobKing, and you actually lived it.
Yes.
That's what makes it unique. And you're doing all these little stories now, putting it out there. So I'm going to let you two tell tell me a little more about it because you know more about it than I do. I just want to say that that's the reason you're on here, is I was very impressed, and I know it's going to be big. It's going to be the next Sopranos.
Yeah, well, you got an interesting timeline how all of this translated into what it is now today, from the get-go. I mean, maybe give our listeners a little bit about how it got off its feet, you know, and you transitioned it into...
Were you thinking about this when you were in prison?
Well, I got a letter.
You got to move a little closer to the mic.
I got a letter in 2004 from DreamWorks, which is Spielberg and Ron Howard or whatever they were, and they want
oh wow, from
expressing
DreamWorks.
interest about doing my life story or whatever, and I was kind of dumbfounded by that and started thinking about it. And then in 2009, when I was supposed to get out, but didn't because of a government technicality, they kept me in another 6 years. But I was going to do a show called Magic City. About
what was that?
It was basically like this, but you know, I was just going to create the story about, you know, what goes on here, and it was going to be completely fictional and stuff like that. And then a couple years before I got out, I started thinking about it, and you know, I put together the concept of the MobKing. It's mob and king. You know, they both have meanings to me, and so I put it together, and I'm basically going to use things that took place in the days.
It's going to be real stories?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much.
Based on your life?
Yeah, pretty much real stories, things that I've seen and done, and, you know, we're just going to transpose it into, you know, entertainment on television. But obviously the stuff that takes place after I get out is all going to be, you know, based on what I might have done had I decided to
stay in the
to pick up the reins and take off
and go back
and do
which
stuff.
I guess
because you know
danger.
it was a kind of interesting thing. You know, if I really wanted to push the envelope with, you know, my chances of not going to jail for life, you know, I would the system set up a way for me to have access to a whole nother legion of warriors, you know.
When you came out,
yeah,
you could have joined right back in.
No, the thing is that when I was in there, because of what I was involved in there and exposed to, and the people I was exposed to, I could have come out with a whole army of just my own. You know,
yeah.
You know, that's the funny thing
about it. That may have been a little tempting, but I guess you didn't want to end up back.
I definitely don't want to end up back. But the thing is that so I'm going to create things based on what
would have happened,
what could have been done after the fact. You know,
okay,
so
and nobody would know better than you,
right? But there will be episodes based on prison. You know, because people, for some reason, are enamored or enthralled with that type of environment. That's why those shows do really well. Yep. So we will be very accurate on that type of stuff, the things I went through in there and my rise to at least have an okay life in there. Yeah.
So you say your life was okay in there. Was it enjoyable? I mean, I feel
there's
like
nothing enjoyable about being, you know, away from your family and locked up or whatever. But there are ways to, you know, live a little better than other people. You know, I mean, I had a cell phone for the last 10 years. Yeah,
an iPhone?
Well, I had an i4 when it first came out, but they're a little harder to get. You don't want that because you have to have your hold down men have ways to, you know, get rid of it and stuff like that. And so they're a little bigger, obviously, smartphones. So, you know, you had the flip phones, and they're easy, $20, you know, and guys could bring in 2 of them. Each guy can bring in 2 of them, you know. The way they bring them in, and
yeah, I think we know how they just shrink wrap them in plastic or anything. I mean, how do you clean them?
Right in their back pocket.
No, they wrap them up, black tape. You know, your people that are going to make the drop out there will wrap up everything, and they'll get dropped, and then it'll get passed around to the mules. They'll get brought in, and you know, and that's another racket that sells. I mean, they go for $500 a piece. You know.
So in your shows, you're going to talk about all these kind of things.
Yeah, we'll show all that.
Everything
everybody knows that's how it goes down in prison. So there's no age-old secrets there. But it's interesting. It's cool. I'll be able to show how gang life is in prison. You know, a lot of people don't realize how prevalent gang life is. They don't have any clue about it. They may have heard one gang or another gang, but they basically run under numbers, a 5 and a 6. You have some independent gangs, but pretty much they all fall under that. And, you know, your people are probably familiar.
What do you mean by a 5 and a 6?
A number. You know, you have 5-point crowns, 6-point crowns, you know. So
what does that mean?
It's, you know, it's what people run under. There's different... You know, there's different groups under the 5s, you know, everything from, I guess, the most common that you guys have probably heard of are Blood and Crips. So Bloods are 5, Crips are 6s. And that's not what I was involved with, but I'm not really going to spell out what I was involved with. So
it'll all be in the shows, guys.
It may be. I mean, you know, you'll be able to tell on the language, but I'm
Yeah.
like I said, I'm not going to identify specifically and
Right.
tell people, yeah, this is what I did, you know,
Yeah.
because nobody, it's the people who really want to know. That's not their business. The entertainment end of it, that's great. But,
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
people,
I know I'm going to enjoy watching this show.
You know, there's always people that like to waste taxpayers' dollars on trying to prosecute somebody that really is just trying to do something okay with their lives and not hurting nobody. But they'll want to say, oh, this guy's doing this, or this guy's doing that, still, and throw some stupid charge at you. So I want to try to avoid all that. You know what I mean? And still paint a story of what goes on in life. You know.
Now, how did you meet Dylan here? I mean.
He actually reached out to me, like a lot of people do, on my site. I mean, I've created this whole, you know, I guess monster at this point with this show.
You've got a lot of people acting in you're filming in South Florida right now, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I got well-established actors. I got Anthony Korone, who's been in Hollywood for 30 years, and you know, you can Google him and see all the shows. I'm sure you've recognized he's been on Oz. He's been, you know, Into the Night, Out of Sight. Bad Boys 2. He's done so many movies, it's not even funny. So
and it's very professionally filmed. I
yeah,
watched
we have
it.
an Emmy award-winning team, First Place Studios. George Yanis, he's the guy that handles all that for us.
Handles the filming.
Yeah, he's won Emmys, and they're behind me 100% because
they believe in it. It's going to be
it's
big.
a good story,
Yeah.
you know, and I think that I pull it off well on screen, and they like that, and that's what it seems like everybody's feeding off of. So, you know, listen, in the end, it's entertainment, you know, and that's what it's going to be about. Sure, it's nice because, you know, it's based on somebody who actually lived some of the stuff, you know, so you're going to get some truth about it. I'm not going to be one of these people that just candy coat this stuff and paint it a different way.
No, that's what I like about it. It's based on reality.
I mean, because, you know, the bottom line is that it can get grimy, you know.
Yeah, I bet.
And, you know, you can look good in a suit and everything else, but when you got to get your hands dirty, you better be good at getting them dirty, you know. Otherwise, you know, you're going to get dirty.
Well, I know you're filming in interesting locations around South Florida, and Dylan's been helping you with this. You filmed in a club?
Yeah, the Gold Club. That's where my character is based out of, Mike White. And
so that's Mike White's club in the...
Yeah, that's his
and it's
place
like a
of business.
nightclub, strip club, what is it?
Yeah, it's a strip club. It's his place of business, you know. The reason why...
But it's a real place.
Yes, it is.
That's what makes it interesting. It's actually being filmed in South Florida in real places.
And, you know, the thing about it is that I'm very transparent. You know, everybody knows me before, knows me with this MobKing stuff. It's all out there. I'm always telling everybody where I'm going to be. I took a little picture of your show before I came here, you know. You know, I got nothing to hide, nothing to worry about, nothing to be afraid of. I'm not, you know, there's no finger pointing going on here. If anything, I want to expose the injustices that go on and what happens to guys like me and how their lives get ruined for stupid charges that mean nothing, and they give you boatloads of time because they want you to tell on people and everything else, and when you don't, you get slammed.
Did they ask you to tell them?
Of course, they ask. They always want you to give them the next big guy.
Did they offer to put you in the witness protection program?
Sure. I mean, come on. They offered that. They offered to let me keep millions of dollars that were seized and the whole 9 yards. Everything else could.
Oh, wow.
You know, that's how corrupt it is. You know, just to serve somebody else. You know,
just so they could get someone else.
Yeah,
also.
somebody else up the ladder. And you know, the number one rule, you know, is you protect the guy on top of you. Period. You know, no matter what, whether you like it or not, you do whatever needs to be done to protect that guy.
Okay.
So, you know, man, my guys were protected.
You guys are protected. Yeah, I guess so.
So
okay, so
that's all that matters.
you served the time in lieu of of ratting them out.
And you know what? And that's the hardest thing about it because doing time is difficult in itself.
I would imagine so.
And it's even worse because, you know, state prison don't have no air conditioning.
Oh, I didn't know that. In Florida?
Yeah, you're hot all the time.
Oh, that's torture right now. I can't go to jail. Okay.
Yeah, you're hot all the time. You know, they make you wear these ratty clothes, you know, and the food is horrible and the conditions are horrible. So it's even harder when you can just go to the phone, pick up, call somebody and say, hey, get me out of here, and you're free the next day.
And you could have done that?
Oh, I could have done it easily. Yeah,
wow.
Without a doubt. I mean...
And you didn't because?
Because I'm not going to go down like that, you know. It's not out of fear. I mean, you know, listen, I got called to handle things for people, you know what I mean? So I'm not worried about that type of stuff. But in the end, you know, I want to do a show like this or I want to tell a story like this. The people that are going to matter, you better be good with. You know what I mean?
Right. So,
you know, and I'm good with the people that matter.
Okay.
So.
And Dylan, I know that you heard his story and you recognized immediately that this was going to be very successful. 'Cause you're a very sharp guy.
Absolutely.
And I
jumped
met
right
him
on top
through
of
you, and I was like, okay, Dylan's in this. It's something good.
Yep.
So where do you go from here? You're filming little webisodes?
Yeah, mobisodes.
Mobisodes.
Yeah,
I like that.
Many mobisodes. And, listen, I'm funding them all on my own. I'm not rich like I used to be. I'm not hiding cash in houses everywhere.
Yeah, how
and
do
all
you
this
survive now?
I survive. And but it's not as easy as it was. And the thing about establishments and Hollywood and government and everything else, the people in power and those type of things, it's all about who you know. And that's why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, and the people who are nobodies ever get to be somebody's, is because the people who are there are the ones that control everything. Okay. So you might have the guy, I forgot his name now, that did 2.5 Men or whatever. He produces 30 shows. Like this one guy, he just recycles ideas or whatever, and nobody new gets to come up through the ranks, because if you don't kiss his butt like Charlie Sheen told him to go fly a kite, and look what happened to him. He ruined his career, because of that guy. So that's how it's all set up. And they want to own everything. They want to own your whole existence, and they give you a small little check. Here you go. Here's a couple $1 million, and then they go off and make $600 million off of your product.
So that's why you're producing this yourself.
Exactly.
You want to own it.
Yeah, and I feel like the technology nowadays is about to change. I don't sit there and watch TV. I know a lot of other people don't sit there and watch TV. Maybe they'll watch something here or there.
You're absolutely right.
But
network television is over.
Right. So I'm starting our own content channel. I'll be launching that in a couple weeks. And
that's a good idea.
Yeah, so it'll be MobKing.tv.
Oh, I like that.
And it'll be, our own content. We're going to put a whole bunch of stuff there. We're going to give an opportunity for the little man. It's going to basically be the network for the little man, little person. And I'm not talking about little people. I'm talking about just people in general.
So it will be something people can subscribe to?
Yeah, they'll be able to subscribe to it. But what's going to make it unique is that people will be able to submit shows to us that they did. They can shoot it on an iPhone. And we'll let our viewers, our subscribers, pick what they think is good. And maybe something that's good, we go ahead and produce. And so we might be kicking out good shows from there. And
nice idea.
Yeah, and more importantly, I'm going to have all organized crime content, mafia documentaries, but not these square documentaries that you see on TV where, you got some robot talking or whatever. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you about what they did right, what they did wrong, why it worked.
So you have your own opinion on it. That's interesting,
so I'll do a half-an-hour documentary on, the greats. I know my history really good. And
the greats being all the famous mafia people
guys.
from.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. I'd watch that. See, that's something I'd watch.
Exactly.
You have
people like that.
Yes,
and,
you're appealing to the viewers.
And all type of movies on there. From Your Casinos to Wise Guys, all these type of shows and stuff.
In addition to your series, how is your series going to be?
Well, I'd like to think that we're the anchor. We'll be the anchor. We've gotten, which is an amazing phenomenon to me, because when we aired it, it's all of my stuff is public, so prior to it being shown and stuff, you'd have a few people who like to say, oh, this ain't gonna be nothing, this isn't gonna do anything, but we haven't got any of that. I mean, it's been renowned across everyone, from the professional industry
I watched it
to the public people. They're all like, this is great. So we did something right. So I feel like if The Sopranos would have started their own channel back then, Square Box Network, a year later, Square Box Network would have been the biggest thing, because the show's good.
But see, now there's an opportunity to do that more so now than then. Because
so we're going to produce our own stuff, and then we're going to, have, 10 little mini mobisodes, 7, 8, whatever they are. And the Fuhrer should be so good, so strong behind it, that we basically can either get our own deal where we own the show, which is what we want, or just produce on our own channel and license it out to people. So that's why we're doing it. And I got really talented people helping me with it.
I know you do.
Yeah. So, that's all. And, we'll see. We'll see if I don't, go to the poorhouse trying to get it done.
I don't know. It's a when thing, not an if thing.
Yeah, I don't have any doubt you're going to be successful with this. What I liked about one of the episodes that you filmed in the strip club, and you explained this to me, I don't know what it's called, but you filmed all the way through. A one-off?
Yeah, one-off. It's very ambitious. It's, one of my partners didn't think it could be done. The other one did. In the industry, it's a powerful source, because you usually have to have seasoned actors and everything else, and the whole one-off shot itself had no seasoned actors, and the one seasoned actor comes in at the end, Anthony Korone. He's the agent, and the camera never leaves me. There's no editing, there's no nothing. It's all done in one big shot, 9-minute straight shot.
I like that.
What was great about it is it only took us 26 takes, which might sound like a lot, but it's not.
Okay.
And about 10 of them were just camera angles. So whenever you get halfway through, and if somebody made a mistake,
then you got to start over.
Yeah.
Oh, and
we did it all
why
in
do
one
you
day.
do it this way? It looks better.
Well, yeah, I mean, it creates a good look, because if you watch regular TV, you see all these different edits. But here it's just, we wanted to show my character coming out and getting hit and inundated with all these issues. All these
And
different
you're talking
things.
on the cell phone at the time. And
you got
it was
the wife
coming up
fighting
on the
with you.
screen, which I loved.
Right, so you got the wife arguing with you about the daughter.
She was texting, and it was coming up on the screen what she was saying while you're dealing with all these.
So we're establishing where you can be invested in the character. You see his turmoil and what it's like there. The episode 2 and 3 is going to elaborate more on that, which will be out in a couple weeks, and we're just going to keep building. I think people are going to really get hyped up on it and enjoy it a lot.
So how can people see what you have already?
Well, they can go to www.themobking.com, or you can go to the MobKing fan page on Facebook. I don't have no more room on my friends list to add people at Ciro Dapagio on Facebook, but I keep people off that don't interact. So,
I bet you do.
If you don't interact and you don't show your support,
and you're gone.
And it shows me your birthday, because that's how I eliminate people. When the birthdays come up, if I haven't seen you do anything, I kick you off.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so I get rid of about 10 people a day.
There you go.
And it's not even really their fault, because Facebook is a whole nother racket. I have 5,000 friends, but they only let they throttle your exposure to your friends. I don't know if you know that.
No.
Yeah, it's why you see the same people all the time.
Yeah, I have noticed that.
Yeah, you don't see all these other people that pop up. So it's basically about 10% of whatever your friend count is that you'll see.
And why do they do that? Because it would be...
I guess because there's 1.8 billion people on the network.
Too overwhelming if they tried to...
If you let everybody, it would be too much. So that whoever you interact with, usually what I'll do is unfollow people, and then new people will come up.
Oh, they'll pop up. I gotta try that.
Yeah, so you can unfollow, people who put up ridiculous things all the time, or blow up your news feed with, dumb stuff. You can just unfollow them, and then the next person pops on. But like I got 118,000 followers on the fan page, and they throttle that too, though.
Do they really?
Yeah. If I put a post up today, it'll take a week before you get 2,000 likes, because the next day they'll put it on another 50 pages, and the next day they'll put it on, because they want you to pay. Like your fan pages, they want you to pay to put it on.
They want you to boost it.
To put it on people's walls, and if you put it on people's walls, I mean, they still have to click it, like it, and follow it. But that's where they make their money. Yeah. Everybody wonders how they make their money. That's
Everything's a business. I know. We like to think that Facebook is just there for us to use, and and nobody's making money off of it.
Yeah, and they calculate everything. I'm
sure they do.
They watch everything, what you like.
I know. They're always saying, "Hey, Becky, you would like to do this," and I'm like, "Yeah, I
you
would."
take a picture with some people, and they already know who it is. They've already put the tag up there, and you didn't even give them the name.
And they're always hitting me up to boost things because they know I use that feature.
Exactly.
So this would make a good boost, Becky.
Yeah. And that's a racket in itself. Everything's a racket.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they charge other guys with racketeering.
Right. Okay, I see your point. I see your point. So you're filming all locally, right?
Yes. We'll be filming tomorrow.
That makes it even more exciting that you do.
I think you're going to be there, right?
Yeah, I'm going to come by and do a live feed. So watch my Facebook page.
Okay,
we're going to see what this is all about, because I think it's great. Dylan, I know that you're always involved in cutting edge things, and the fact that you're very excited about this, well, I mean, I can see why. But
this show is going to blow up. I mean,
I know it is.
People have been looking for a show like this for a while, and we talk about The Sopranos and how well that went in those days. Now that we have live streaming and all different platforms,
right? That's the key.
This is going to explode, and like you said, he's real.
Yeah,
he's real.
That's what I love about it.
We have an amazing crew, very talented people. You put those things together and you execute it well, it's going to be a huge success. And that's why I jumped on it right away. And I'm grateful that, he responded to my email.
Because I was sitting on my couch the other day looking for something new to watch on Netflix, and I was thinking, if this show was on Netflix, I'd be watching it.
And what's going to be great is the the educational stuff that's going to be brought up into it.
Closer.
Like, for example, a lot of people think, the Italian mafia is all Sicilian. And what's funny about that is that, the majority of people that you think were Sicilian mobsters, people will be like, oh, you got to be Sicilian to be in the mafia, you got to be this. And Al Capone wasn't even Sicilian. Frank Casello wasn't Sicilian. Vito Genovese wasn't Sicilian. That's what people don't understand. The last 13 years before just recently, every boss of the Gambino family wasn't Sicilian. So I mean, people don't really, you only know what the movies have shown.
Right.
And then
that's true.
And then there's really what really happens, So, I'm not Sicilian. You know, I have Nobledon blood in me, but that's from Naples. You know, so
Okay.
it's a little different. It's a Camorra there, but you know, really, what goes on in those things, it's not even so much of who they are or whatever. Like The Sopranos, I didn't watch too much of it. It was out of Jersey. Maybe it was good, maybe it wasn't. I really don't know. But this isn't going to be a show based around 6 heavy-looking Italian, funny-looking people who are talking funny or whatever. It's not going to be anything like that. It's going to be what goes on here.
The real thing.
In Miami is about getting paid, making money, you know, and you know, doing what you would expect people to do. You know, it's not running around ditching bodies in the trunk all the time and stuff like that. You know, it's does it happen? Sure.
I was gonna say, is there any of that?
Of course, some of those things probably happen. You know, but you know, they'll even happen on our show. But you know, it's not going to be anybody I knew. You know.
So most of it is about. Be careful, Dylan.
As of right now.
Don't get him mad.
Not going to be anybody I know.
Well, I think it's very exciting, and
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
the fact that you're filming all over South Florida makes it even more interesting to me, and I'm sure to everyone here. But you know, Miami and this whole South Florida gang mafia thing is a big thing.
That's right.
So
You know?
I think it'll make.
And you know, listen, I'm going to show a few things. You know, I mean, it's not for any reason in history. You know, the Italian mafia has had a thing against, you know, drug sales and all that, but there's still been people to do it. But you know, we're going to be very big on that, about the heroin epidemic. I can't stand that. I don't like it. You know, it's affected one of my kids.
Oh.
And you know, we're going to be against that, you know, and show that, how bad that is and stuff like that, and try to bring awareness to people about that kind of junk, you know, and stuff like that. So hopefully that does some good as well, you know. We'll see.
Yeah, you'll have a platform to help people, which is nice.
Exactly.
Whenever you
know,
have a large audience, you can do that.
That's the key, man. You know, a lot of people have a fondness for me because I do good by people, you know. I'll give you the shirt off my back if I'm good with you, you know, because I don't care. I look good without
What
a
if
shirt.
somebody gets on your bad side? Yeah, he does. He does. I was going to ask you, what do your
I was
tattoos
only
say?
kidding.
You have a lot of tattoos.
It says Memento
Tattoo
Mori,
part.
which is the old language of the Roman Empire. Old Latin means remember you must die. I have a couple lions on my chest, which represent something. And then I have Veni Vidi Vici, I came, I saw, and I conquered.
What does that mean?
I came, I saw, and I
I
conquered.
came, I saw, and I
It's a message
conquered.
Julius Caesar sent back to the Senate in 43 AD, 43 BC when he conquered Gaul, which is France right now.
This guy's in really good shape, and he's got some great tattoos. Go to my Facebook page. I've got a couple of pictures of him on there.
Thank you.
So he's the real deal, which makes this all the more exciting because you know, you're going to really tell your story. Maybe
Yeah.
not verbatim, but maybe.
I'll tell you the prison stuff.
Yeah. Okay. That's it's going to be good. It's going to be.
And we'll show you
very
what
good.
life was like back in them days. You know, once we get to where we have good budgets and stuff like that, you'll see exactly how the life was in the clubs and everything else in the 90s and 80s
And what went
was
on
great
down there.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really a good time.
It was a very very romantic time and very fun for people, and everyone from Hollywood, all the singers,
Yes.
Madonna, everybody
Yeah.
was in Miami Beach playing in these clubs that were basically run by the mafia.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it was a big influence there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll make it.
I've met Madonna several times, actually. She
Oh,
sang
what's she
Happy
like?
birthday to me. Yeah.
She sang Happy Birthday.
She did. She did.
Oh
Yeah.
wow!
I was in 1996.
And that was that at a club.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were running with the. See, I know.
Yeah, they were around. I met a lot of them. You know, I don't have an affinity for stars like other people do. They don't float my boat. I really could care less, you know. But, you know, yeah, I met a lot of them.
See, I knew he lived that lifestyle. That must have been a lot of fun.
It was all right.
And I hope you're going to show us some of that in the shows.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep, you got to stay tuned on Facebook. You got to stay tuned on Becky and Boca's show
I'm
here.
going to be covering him. I'm going to have you back on too as you
Okay.
get a little more stuff going on, and we'll.
You'll be our public voice.
All right, I'll be your publicist. How's
Yeah,
that?
That's great. I like that.
Okay,
I don't like talking in the public
fantastic.
too often.
Yeah, I know. You told me you
I
don't
mean,
do
not
interviews.
my people, public people, but you know, like interview people and all
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I'm not big on that.
Well, there's about over 3 million people listening to you right now, so.
That's great. So,
Yep.
hello, 3 million people.
Hello, everybody. Okay, this is Ciro Dapagio and Dylan Lang, his associate producer, and the show is called MobKing, so watch for it. They're going to get it to you one way or another. And the way everything's changing, the way shows are delivered, I'm really anxious to see how this gets out there, what medium you use, because I know it's going to be successful no matter what. Okay, so we got to wrap up here. Thanks for coming in, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Great interview. I had a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Okay. You have been watching and listening to The BeckyinBoca Show. Tune in every Thursday night at 6 p.m. to discover all the ways to spoil yourself and have a good time in beautiful Boca Raton. See you next week.
The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.